As I was saying, in the fight against firefighting, the Guard, National Republican Guard, is responsible for surveillance, detection, and monitoring, and it is also an integrated part of the other two pillars. In other words, it also acts in structural prevention and also in the fighting and the aftermath of fires. This is a brief introduction to the GIPS. It was founded in 2006 after an extraordinary meeting of the ministers following the wildfires, the serious situation with wildfires that the country experienced in 2003 and 2004. So it was founded in 2006, in particular to act in emergency situations. But we are but one part of the team that acts in situations of wildfire. Primarily, we are as members of the GNR, of the Guarda Nacional. So first and foremost, we are members of the GNR. However, we do have particular characteristics. We fight directly, indirectly fires. We also have armed equipment. And we are trained specifically for protecting the population in circumstances like these. So in terms of specific training, we have military training. We also receive specific training to become a GIPS, and obviously we also have received physical training to prepare ourselves physically for fighting wildfires. So primarily what we do is we ensure the implementation of the decree law I mentioned previously, 124 2006. And this decree law essentially provides preventive measures and protective measures of people and property. And it also provides for the use of different type of equipment, air, land equipment in the prevention of wildfires and the protection. These are some pictures of some of our missions. What type of issues do we have to address on a regular basis? We have the issue of land planning. The gentleman asked Engineer Rui Almeida previously this morning. He said that he believed that preventive measures had to be taken, and land planning was one of those. We saw also this morning that there was a large wildfire that was triggered in this area. And we saw pictures of the type of means that were activated to fight that fire, but we saw the importance of land planning. And identification. This is really a problem. It's not like having a car with a number plate. This is one of the big issues that we have, and that is in identifying the owners of the properties. Offences are easy to identify, but often we are unable to identify the owner of the property where the offense was committed. And this is why we have to move forward quickly in terms of creating the territories cadastre. In some parts of the country, in Algarve, we do have cadasters, but in our area this is not the case. Sometimes the tax officers don't even know who are the owners of the lands. Sometimes the people don't even know that they have inherited the property because their property was passed down from the great-grandparents to the parents, then to the fathers, and finally to the grandchildren who are the current owners and don't even know about it. As for procedures. These include the blowing the whistle on offences committed, in identifying the people responsible and the perpetrators of such offences, in notifying formally the offenders. But sometimes the owners or the offenders don't even live in the country anymore. They may have immigrated or sometimes are deceased. But imputing the responsibility takes some time. The red tape involved is the cause of great delay. Sometimes it's not easy to find the person that should be informed about the offense. So in the end, the whole procedure and surveillance and monitoring of offenses is ineffective. We would all like to see situations like these come to an end, but we are trying to do something. And to do something is what we call our preventive surveillance plan. Earlier I was speaking to the engineers from different cities here, Sor and Penella. These plans vary depending on the location. In Sor, for example, we have managed to reach out to most owners. Why was that made possible? Well, because there we had few owners who owned many properties simultaneously, so it was easier to reach out to them. But this preventive surveillance plan is divided into different sections. We have the ICNF that is responsible for awareness raising or sensitization, for planning, for the organization of the forests and planning of forests and infrastructure, and for maintaining the forests. We personally are responsible for prevention in conducting, in patrolling and monitoring, and in informing the population. We are also responsible for detecting and monitoring, and finally for responsible for surveillance, and this is where GIPS come in, as well as the territorial posts that conduct surveillance. This surveillance model is an implementation of the law. In other words, the law specifies that if the owner of a property does not clean up and strip the properties and the areas, the surrounding areas of his or her her property, thus creating fuel breaks, you will otherwise be responsible and will have to pay a fine. But only after the individual has been warned, only afterwards do we actually fine the individual. So our group, in collaboration with the municipality and represented by the land management offices, provide the cartography of the area. Through our patrols, we identify the offense, and either we manage to contact the owner or we cannot contact the owner. Unfortunately, we cannot find the owners more often than we can. But if we manage to contact the owner, we inform him of the offense and we provide him a deadline for voluntarily cleaning up the property. If they do not do that, then We inform the municipality that the offence has been committed and that the building is in danger because the undergrowth has not been stripped around it, and therefore, if possible, the municipality will have to inform the owner about what is going on. If even after a second surveillance and patrolling of the property, we realize that the person has complied with the orders, then very well. If not, then the individual will be fined. And in the end, if the offence has been committed, then the procedures is the same as for any other offence committed nationally. In prevention terms, several activities are conducted. We promote and support civil and civic events held in schools. We promote and foster the compliance with the law. And we often realize that many years after the law was applied, many people still do not know what are their duties. And also reinforcing preventive measures, and surveillance measures. Furthermore, we cover the terrain, we identify owners and often collect information that could complete many of the gaps that exist in tax information, for example. So our work could and should actually be that of supporting other entities in identifying the owners of properties. The fact is, if the different stakeholders brought in the different pieces of the puzzle, we would definitely have, I wouldn't say the full puzzle, but most of the puzzle completed. We are also trying to develop a database with all of the information of the owners. We know that the properties have records of, that the tax officers have records of all of the properties, even if they do not know who the owners are. But often under the private property and the privileged information law, they cannot provide us with that information. So we also develop our own database. We also produce cartography of all of the parishes and municipalities. We try to match up that with a cadaster whenever possible. And then we write up an Excel that we give to the authorities with all of the information, including the offences that committed. Ideally, this was another of our objectives and that would be to identify the owners of the rural buildings who have committed an offence and to inform the municipality. In my opinion, we are still not doing exactly this. Furthermore, we are also responsible for notifying the owners, for informing the owners of non-compliance with Decree Law 124/06. Now, to implement all of this that I've just mentioned, we have two forms of acting on the basis of the printed cartography, the printed charts that we have at our disposal. The men either act on the basis of the charts, printed charts provided to us by the municipalities. On the other hand, we can have digital form, these charts in digital format, which we can see on tablets. The second form of acting is, as I said, using a tablet. Once again, municipalities either provide us with the georeferenced PDFs. Instead of providing us with the printed charts, we have our tablets. And if we are surveying and walking around, we have our tablets in our hands and we can follow the charts. So putting it simply, we have the charts on our tablets. And the tablets are linked with an Excel chart where we can insert the missing information, namely the name of the owner, for example, if we find it, or any adjustments in the parameters of the properties. And all of the information can be exported to either Excel file or to another format like Google Earth or some other georeferencing software. And what is our final goal? Well, essentially it is this.
Isso acontece. Não é um problema. Peço desculpa por este problema. Estava a mostrar aqui algumas fotos elucidativas do antes e do depois. Portanto, aqui.
On the left-hand side, you have the picture before, and on the right-hand side after. The same here. These trees that were in danger of falling, and in the case of a fire, the danger would even be greater. So we simply, after passing by, we warned the owners, and they cut down the trees. And this is precisely our goal: is to ensure that people clean their properties so that the risk of fire or the negative impact of fire is reduced. This is some example of the flyers and posters that we have developed with the help of municipalities. These are some examples of best practices. For example, together with the water bill, we send flyers. Palmela, Pombal are some of the municipalities that have taken this initiative. They have attached to the water bills notices with very simple information that is easily understood by any inhabitant of the municipality, with information about fire prevention and how people can protect themselves from the negative impact of fire. Thank you.
Há alguma pergunta?
I don't know if there are any questions. Don't be intimidated by the presentation, please.
Sou Piedade Roberto, do Centro da Biomassa para a Energia.
I'm from the Center for Biomass. I noticed that you talked about the registry, which is truly a problem, but you do surveys and you identified people, and you probably have a database that could be shared and really increased and create a platform with other public entities. I think it would be really beneficial for everyone. And I think it's really the path to follow. It's an important tool to fight fires, but in other activities that concern the forest. As I said, I believe that if all entities combine the little they have, the little would become a lot. And we could really not have a full registry, but we would have less costs the day we decide to really create a registry. It is done, I believe, but is done by each entity's initiative. So it's done in different areas, but I think it is being done. But I think we could really benefit from the help and spend less money, yes, and get there faster. Thank you.